Hello everyone, welcome to another video of React.js 19 tutorial series. In this video, we are going to add some more capabilities to the app component. In the previous video, we created a button element and we attached an event handler to the button element. And now we are going to create one more div element just below the button element, and then we are going to attach a toggle effects, which means based on the button click we will decide whether to display or hide the div element. And to achieve this, we have two main methods. First one is called as React Router. React Router is something which we are going to see in the upcoming videos because it requires the project setup. And the second method is called conditional rendering, which means based on some conditions, we will decide whether to display or hide a particular component or not. And in case of conditional rendering, the browser URL will be static. It won't change even if we change the components. But in case of React Router, it will change the browser URL because it decides which components to render based on the browser's URL. So let's jump into the code and see how we can achieve this behavior using React conditional rendering. So let's create a div element, and just to make the things easy, I'm going to write a dummy string here. But in real world scenarios, there will be more complex HTML elements or even another React element. So to create post, and let's go to the browser and we can see the div element. Now if I click on the button, nothing will happen, right? So now what do we need? So we need a variable, and we want that whenever this variable gets changed, React should re-render the JSX, right? On variable change, we want re-rendering, recalculation of the JSX. For this, we have to use something called as states. So states are the special type of variables in React for which React will recalculate the entire JSX whenever the value of the state variable is changing. So that is the reason we have to use the states variable instead of the regular JavaScript variable, because we want recalculation of or re-rendering of the JSX on these variable changes. So to create a state in React, we have to use a special method called useState, and we have to pass a default value, and it returns two values. First one will be a state variable, and the second will be a method which will be used for updating the state variable. So this is the syntax for creating the state variable in React. It might feel little complex initially, but once you create few states variable, you will get used to it. So now let's create our first ever React state variable by using useState hook. So I have installed a React extension to my VS Code. That is the reason I am getting these auto suggestions or autocomplete. So I'm going to provide a default value as false to my variable, and let's give it a name. So this is the name of my state variable, right? The first element of the array, and the second element of the array will be the setter method. So this setter method will be used to set the state values. All right. Now in our code, if I go, so there is some error it seems. All right, let's go to the inspect element. Okay, let me expand. All right, so it says that use state is not defined. So I forgot to import use state hook. Here we go. Use state, and now it should work. Yes, there is no error. It means our code is working as expected. So now we are going to display or hide the div element based on the state which we have created. So how we can achieve this is by using ternary operator. So these are the JavaScript operators, and syntax for the ternary operator will be the condition and then a question marks, and the first value will be uh, the true case scenario, which means if the condition is satisfied, then the first value will be executed, and then colon, and then the second value, right? If the condition is false, then the second value will be executed. So in our case, instead of these values, we are going to write the JSX. Let's see how we can do it in our code. So to enable JavaScript inside JSX, first thing will be we have to use these curly brackets and then the condition. So this is the state variable. So it means that if the state variable is true, then execute the first condition. In our case, the first condition is the JSX element, the div element, and if false, we have to do something. So for a requirement, we have to provide an empty uh, component. So we can provide a empty fragment to achieve this. Here we go. So in our case, the default value for the state variable is false. So the second condition will be satisfied, and there won't be any div element displayed into the UI. Let's see how it is. Yeah, there is no element, and if you want to display it, we have to change the default value to true. Here we go. But these values we are changing manually. We can do it dynamically by using the second value of the array, the setter method for the state. And we want this to happen on button click, right? So we have attached this event handler method on button click. So we can write the setter method, or we can call the setter method here, and we can either pass true to display it, or we can pass false to hide the div element. But we want to make it dynamic, so basically we want to enable a toggle effect, so we can do something like this. So it means if the state value is true, convert it into false, and if it is false, convert the state value to true. And let me change the default value back to false, so that initially there won't be any div element, right? So everything is in place. Let me go to the code. Here we go. Now we can see the toggle effect is working as expected. So we created a toggle effect by using the ternary operator, and we used react state hook to store the variable. So this is all about this video, and I'll see you in the next one.